Times are changing. And just because I sit here and say it's a huge opportunity, which I absolutely believe, doesn't mean it doesn't come with its challenges. So give yourself a little grace and have some empathy. Welcome back to another episode of All or Nothing in Real Estate. I'm your host, Matt Smith, the founder of All or Nothing in Real Estate. This podcast is a movement to give back to this amazing industry that has given so much to me and my family. Guys, today I'm just going to dive right in. I've got a lot on my mind, a lot to share, and I'm going to brain dump out loud with you all and take you behind the scenes of how my brain works in these challenging times. And one of the things I love about doing this podcast, about being a team leader, about being a coach, is that these things that I'm sharing are relevant. They're real, they're relevant, and you can apply them now. And so, as an example, I had a call with the best coach on the planet, my personal coach, my good friend, my mentor, John Cheplack, this week. And I asked him what he is seeing in the marketplace. Keep in mind, um, he is a coach for the top teams in the world, documented the top teams. And he gets to understand what their challenges are, what their frustrations are, what is working, what isn't working. And so that's where we spend a majority of this call. I'm going to unpack some of the conversation that we had today, with you guys today. And then I'm also going to unpack what we're doing about it, and what I would recommend that you do as well. So one of the things he said was very interesting. There's a lot of challenges right now, both for agents, for teams, for broker owners. And there's been some shuffling of the cards, if you will, of agents moving teams and different things just on a larger scale, through the organization. And I'm hearing that too, just from a lot of different areas. And so one of the things we unpacked is, why do we think that is? And he said it's interesting. Number one leadership lesson is you need to make sure you're having empathy. Don't let it turn into sympathy, but empathy with your people. And so we unpacked that a little bit, and that'll be for another podcast. But empathy is always important, and I think that we can all be better at that. But so number one, if you're a leader, or even, you know what, you're a leader to yourself. So this applies to everyone. Even if it's your first day in the real estate business, or you're just thinking about getting in the business, or I don't care, this applies to anyone. Have some empathy with yourself, or have some empathy with those that are leading. Times are changing. And just because I sit here and say it's a huge opportunity, which I absolutely believe, doesn't mean it doesn't come with its challenges. So give yourself a little grace, and have some empathy. I think that's a very important part of the puzzle. But to go deeper, after empathy, I said, well, why is that important? And he'd shared that there's just a lot of people that are struggling right now in one way or another. And maybe that's you, or maybe you're winning at a high level. Either way, this message will be relevant for you. And so let me start unpacking that. And I'm brain dumping, thinking out loud. So bear with me as I kind of go through some notes that I jotted down, and going through some things to share this with you. But it was really, really eye-opening to me that he said a lot of people are struggling because maybe they haven't experienced hard times. A lot of people don't know what to do when things slow down. A lot of people don't know what actions to change. And a lot of people are kind of in a frozen state. And when they're in a panic, and when you're in panic, you're overwhelmed. And when you're in overwhelm, nothing happens. And so it's just, I think, is really, really relevant for a lot of agents. And so I'm just really going to unpack that today, and then give you some action steps on my take that will help you get out of that. So first and foremost, give yourself some grace, give yourself some empathy. If you're leading others, have some empathy with them. It's change is easy for some people, and it's for most people, it's not. And it is an opportunity when there's change, but it's also a challenge. And so just have some empathy, have some grace, and realize it takes time. So one of the things that I thought was important is, let's start with, what is the culture of your organization? And so if we're talking about all these changes and the behavior that needs to change, the mindset that needs to change, the action that needs to change, I think it's important to align that with culture. And so how do you build a winning culture? What if we start there? Think about it. When you think about some of the greatest teams on the planet, that have ever existed. What makes those teams great? The best teams on the planet could be a real estate team, could be a sports team, could be what, pick a team. The best teams, the greatest teams to ever do it. It is very clear to me what makes those teams great. It's their culture. So let's think about it. Are we talking about a culture of people that are lazy, people that cut corners, people that make excuses? Nope. What are we talking about? A winning culture. A winning culture that encourages personal growth, that encourages excellence, that has high standards, that encourages you to be the best version of yourself each and every day. You see, I believe a strong culture is what separates good from great. And think about it from a team perspective. And this could be for yourself too, right? Maybe you're not on a team, but this still applies. So stay with me here. Strong culture is what separates a good business or a good team from a great one. And I'm telling you, the difference from average to good is like an inch. But the difference between good and great is like 100 miles. It's that big of a difference. It's easy to go from average to good. It's easy to go from brand new to average. Those are easy. Those are an inch gap each. But when you want to go from good to great, we're talking 100-mile leap. It takes time. And what separates those? What is the success of those great teams? I say all the time, success leaves clues. What has their success taught us? They all have a great, strong culture. Now, I think a winning culture and a great culture and a strong culture is sometimes misinterpreted. A great culture, a strong culture isn't a culture of gossip, isn't a culture of, well, everyone's comfortable. A great culture is, hey, we're a family, we love each other, we support each other, but we realize we have shit to do. We got a job to do, and we're going to execute at a high level. That's what winners do. That's what a great culture does. When you think about it, I use this analogy a lot. Like our culture is a ship, right? Maybe you have a canoe. I had a rowboat and a canoe at one point, and there's holes everywhere, and I was the only one with a paddle. But when you bring someone in your canoe, into your boat, are they rowing? Give them a paddle, and everyone that is on the boat needs to be committed to rowing the boat. Are they either rowing the boat and are they rowing in the right direction, or are we rowing in circles? Or maybe intentionally or unintentionally, are they drilling holes in the boat? What would that look like in a real estate business? Let's say you roll out a new standard that is important for everyone in this marketplace. Because after all, let's say that it's a new standard of activity that is required. Agents, I'm going to break some news to you. Your leader doesn't determine the action that is required. The market does. And your leader has zero influence over that. And so instead of being mad at your leader for those standards, maybe you should look in the mirror and be like, wow, I'm so glad I'm with an organization. I'm in a winning culture. I've got a leader that cares enough to increase the standard so that I can hit my goals that I set out for myself and my family. And I think about like this ship analogy. When you have a winning culture, everyone grabs a paddle and everyone is rowing. And when everyone rows, the boat moves a lot faster. That's how you dominate. And it all starts with culture. So let's talk about winning culture. I'm going to dive into this. A lot of times we think maybe our culture isn't where it needs to be, and it's because of the people that we hired. The reality is there could be some truth to that, but most of the time that's not true. Because most humans, most people want to win. It's like something that we're born with. Think about a kid that's in kindergarten and they're running a race. They're playing tag. They're playing kickball in school. They want to win. We're born with it, right? And so there's very few people that are born without that instinct to win. So more than likely, it's not your team. It's not your approach. Or sorry, it's not your team. It's not the people that you hire. It could be your approach. It could be how you're organizing the team. It could be how you are establishing the culture. And the good news is, if that is the problem, that also means that you can fix it. So I've broken this down in a couple steps. Number one, how do you build a winning culture? You show your team how to win. Most people want to win, but they haven't ever been shown how. In addition to that, I think mindset is important. I've said it for a long time now, is everything starts with mindset. But I've been debating internally, and I've shared it on this show before. I think that equally as important in today's world, and maybe at times even more important than your mindset, is your environment. Because some people have never been in an environment that has allowed them to win. Think about it, whether it's their childhood, whether it's their last workplace, whatever it may be. And I'm not saying let's point the finger. You guys know me, that you've listened to the show. I accept full personal responsibility for everything. And I encourage you to do the same. But let's be real. Not all environments are created equal. And so maybe that person has never been in an environment where they've been shown how to win or that allows them to win. So make sure your business has that. Provide that. Teach your team how to win. Show them how their role, how their efforts will help them win, help them progress, and the team and the company progress. When you invest in the people grow the company. You have to grow people. Like an example is, I'm probably going to butcher this, but like Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A. I think it's a great restaurant. I think it's great food. But one of the things that really stands out to me in a world of fast food that is just terrible, terrible service. When you go to Chick-fil-A, they're over the top customer service. And I did some research on them on where that comes from. And their CEO shared that we're not a fast food restaurant. We are a human development company. We develop people, we develop leaders, we develop character in people. We just happen to sell chicken. We just happen to be a restaurant, a fast food restaurant. So think about that for a minute. What is the difference in Chick-fil-A service versus a McDonald's service? It's the culture, the leadership, it's the standards. You can have the same people work at both places, and which environment will that person excel in? And I'm not like talking crap on McDonald's. My kids love McDonald's, right? I'm just using that as an example. The service is not the same. It's not created equal. And so it's really important that you invest in your people. Number two, this is simple, right? But establish a set of core values. Winning culture requires winning values, winning principles. And these core values aren't just something you put on the wall. It's not just something that you talk about once a year. You have to understand, you have to believe in your core values. You have to have a definition of what they mean, and you have to share them. You have to hire by them. You have to fire by them. You have to promote by them. You have to, like, the core values are at the fundamental of everything that you do. You congratulate by them. You reprimand by them. You improve and coach by them. Everything is around your core values. So be sure that those are clear and those are not a one-time thing. Most people think a culture is, well, I established core values. They're on the wall. Everyone knows them. How often are you communicating them? I made a commitment. I will talk to someone or multiple people on my team every single day about a core value. It's that important every day. It's so important. Every team meeting, we end with core values. We read a definition of our core values. We ask how that has helped impact someone's life. It's super important. Every winning culture has core values. Number three, create a competitive environment. Competitive environment. And some people may say, well, Matt, that doesn't work. Some of my agents don't like competition. Cool. Maybe they won't make it. If they can't handle a little competition within people that want them to win, how are they going to handle the competitive landscape of the market right now? Now, I'm not saying unhealthy competition, but I'm saying if you had an NFL team, if you're coaching them, what's your goal? To win. And if you don't win, guess what? You don't have a job. And let's say I'm a professional coach. Who are the people that play? The best players. That's what I put in, because it's my job to win as the coach. So why do we treat business differently? I don't think we should. I don't care how long Susie, I don't care how long Bob or Bill or whoever's been with the company. I don't care if they're my best friend. It doesn't matter. It is my responsibility. It is the team's responsibility to put in the person that can do the job the best. And I think that the society that I look at of people that like, hey, I've got tenure. I've been at the company for 5 years. I should get a raise. Or are you doing your job at a higher level than you were 5 years ago? If the answer is no, and you're just comfortable and you just show up and clock in and clock out and you think that deserves a raise, guess what? You're probably going to be working somewhere else and not with my company because we level up. We have a culture and a standard of excellence. Everyone's excellence is different. Everyone's version of success is different. It's not you versus everyone else. It's you versus you. But we're growing. We're a growth environment. We encourage people to chase better. Uncomfortable is good. You got to be uncomfortable so you can grow. That's where growth comes from. So just think about it as if you were leading a sports team, that's how you should lead your team. Excuse me. And if you're in a company that has that competitive environment, embrace it, lean in. Don't cower down and think, "Oh, that's not for me. I don't like competition." There may be exceptions to this, but my opinion is if you're someone that says you don't like competition, it means that you don't believe in yourself, that you will keep the commitment to do what you know needs to be done to win this competition. And so instead of being uncomfortable and losing, you just don't even put yourself in the game. And I think that's a sad life to live. And I hope this encourages you and inspires you to put your name in the hat. You can't win if you don't play. You see, in our environment, I'm not judging people if they don't win the competition. I'm encouraging them to enter the competition. I'm encouraging them to show up as the best version of themselves. But what we do is we find something that they did really well, something where they did show up, something where they improved. We get them stack some wins. That consistency that wins. So we talked about create a competitive environment. Competition is great. Like it's something that I think is really, really important for a real estate environment because a lot of sales environments are unhealthy competition and people take from others hoping that that gives them more. And the opposite is actually true. The more you give to others, the more you also receive. And it's so important that you have a competitive environment where other people want to win. They want to win the competition. They want to beat the other person. But at the end of the day, we're here to serve the team and we're here to serve the community. And so if I'm going to beat Susie or Susie's going to beat me in this competition, and it takes me to go out of my way to help Susie with that client that's going to be the one that beats me, I can't wait to help Susie. And I'm proud of her. And I'm glad that she did all that work. Yep, I wish I could have won, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to help Susie, even if it's the one that beats me. That competitive, that healthy competitive environment will help really grow your organization. All right. I think I want to give the other perspective. Sorry for the delay. Again, I said I'm brain dumping out here, so I'm thinking out loud. So one of the things that popped in my head as I was speaking through that is I talked about how people maybe expect a raise because they've been in a job for a certain amount of time. I think that's just bullshit. And I don't think it's reality. And I think that someone having the mindset, oh, I've been here longer, so I deserve more, is not always accurate. I also think someone saying, hey, if you pay me more, I'll do more, is just the wrong mindset to have. Here's what winners know. And here's what winners do is they do more than what is expected. They show up every day and think, how can I contribute to the growth of the organization? How can I make my position better? How can I bring so much value to the table that it would be a detriment if they were to ever lose me? I want to become more valuable, and then I become valued. And so if you just come up with that mindset and you're in the right environment, those things will be rewarded more than you could ever imagine. Because so many people are showing up and they're doing the bare minimum and they're thinking, what can I take versus what can I give? And givers gain. Those that believe in the law of reciprocity, those that continually show up and contribute because it's the right thing to do are the ones that will win, not only today, but for the long term. And it's so important that you show up and you have an environment of that, whether it's an operations member, whether it's marketing, whether it's front desk, whether it's an agent, it does not matter. And here's a phrase that I learned from John Cheplack that I share all the time. The whole is bigger than the part. When the part serves the whole, the part receives back tenfold. Say it one more time. The whole is bigger than the part, meaning the team is bigger than your position. The team is bigger than my position. I say it all the time. This whole thing outgrew me a long time ago. So the whole is bigger than the part. But when the part serves the whole, the part receives back tenfold. And if that is your mantra and you continually do that, you will see life-changing story after life-changing story after life-changing story. Like, as an example, if you're a leader listening to this, you're no longer in the transaction business. You're in the human development, human resource, human attraction business. You can't build anything great without great people. And I think so many times we shoot past the target, and a lot of leaders right now are missing the people part. Are you building depth of relationship? Are you challenging those that need to be challenged? Are you being empathetic through these changes and realizing that it takes time for them to change? Moving on to my next notes in my brain dump is I've thought about when I was going through this, I'm like, what about confidence? I think some agents are maybe struggling with confidence right now. And so maybe that's you or maybe it's not. But what is confidence? I believe confidence is built. I believe confidence is earned. No one can give you confidence. You have to go out and earn it. And how do you earn confidence? It's really simple to me. By following through and keeping the promises that you made to yourself. Confidence is built. Confidence is earned by following through and keeping the promises that you made to yourself. And so if you're lacking confidence, I would encourage you to go back. Go watch your game film and ask yourself, have I really followed through to what I said I would do? If I'm lacking confidence in this marketplace, is it really because of the interest rates? Is it really because of the NAR settlement? Is it really because of lack of inventory? Whatever. Is it really because my team leader's a jerk? Is it really because these leads are bad? Is it really because the person across the street will give me 2.8% more commission on my sales? Whatever stupid thing that sometimes we think of. And maybe there's some truth to some of those. I don't know. But I'm just encouraging you to go back and look at that and ask, if I'm lacking confidence right now, have I really done my part to earn the confidence that I'm seeking by following through on the promises I made to myself? Guys, I'm telling you right now, that is a hack. And so how can you make a promise that you can actually keep today and then do it again tomorrow and then do it again the next day? You see, all of us want to win the year. But in order to win the year, you have to win enough months. In order to win enough months, you have to win enough weeks. In order to win enough weeks, you have to win enough days. And so the year doesn't matter if you don't win the day today. What is your daily minimum standard of activity you need to do today? And did you execute? Yes or no? It's really, really simple. But we want to have this big calculus equation and this big business plan that's overly sophisticated. And it's not a business plan you're after. A lot of these sexy business plans are a replacement for lack of execution. You want confidence? Go out and execute. That's where the magic is. And that led me to another thought. One of our core values is integrity. And we all know the definition of integrity, right? It's doing the right thing when no one's looking. My definition is doing the right thing, especially when no one is looking. When you know that no one's going to find out that you just cut that corner, are you going to cut that corner? Or are you going to still do it the right way? So integrity, it has a hidden meaning in our organization. There's a word inside of integrity that we use as a core value as well. It's called grit, G-R-I-T. Do you have the perseverance? Do you have the will? Are you willing to get punched in the mouth and get back up and do it all over again? You see, I think the number one determining factor in whether someone is going to be successful in real estate or not is grit. It takes grit. This industry is not all sunshine and rainbows. Deals fall apart. Clients hang up on you. When we're dealing with people in the public and we're in a sales position, it's tough. I love it. Wouldn't trade it for the world. But I also am willing to get punched in the mouth and get back up and do it all over again. Do you have the grit that it takes? And if not, guess what? You aren't born with it. It's a learned trait. It's a learned skill. You can learn it. So you got to have grit. But integrity. I want to take a different perspective on integrity. Those are the just like kind of the baselines of integrity and what it means to me. But for this talk specifically, are you acting in integrity with yourself? Too many times we think of integrity of what other people think. But are you acting in integrity with yourself? So, as an example, going back to building confidence, if I said I'm going to do X today, I'm going to do ABC today, are you in integrity with yourself that you actually follow through and commit to that? Or are you out of integrity with yourself? And then you say, how come I don't have confidence? Well, I'd have confidence if I had better leads. Better leads don't give you confidence. Are you acting in integrity with yourself? Another thought. So many people say they want their goals. They say they want this. They say they want that. A lot of times, I think it's just talk. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it is. Either way, I hope this helps you. Do you really want your goals? Or are they just something that you say so that you can fit in and it makes you feel better to say it to someone else? Because I believe that actions speak louder than words. And so if you really wanted that, if you really wanted that goal, if you really wanted that for your family, you would find a way, not an excuse. Actions speak louder than words. You see, I don't believe what people say. I believe what they do. So I'm going to give you an exercise. If you were to go back and let's pretend you had a GoPro on for the last 90 days. If you were to go back and watch the game film of the actions that you took over the last 90 days, that would actually tell you what your goals are because of the actions you took. I don't care what you say. What did you do? What did you do? What are your goals based upon the actions you took? If a stranger was to analyze and watch the actions you took, would they be in alignment with the goals that you say that you want? When you do that exercise, I believe one or two things will happen for each and every one of you. Number one, and I hope this is true for you, it'll make you so damn proud of yourself for the work you're putting in and day out, and it'll inspire you to keep going because your game film and your goals, they match up perfectly. But there's an option number two. As you're doing this exercise, you may realize there's a gap, but it's okay. There's a gap. Growth is in the gap. We all have gaps. It's cool. Now you're aware of it. What are you going to do about it? You either change your goals or you change your actions. I hope this helps you. I think a lot of people are wishing that the market was easier and you're shooting at the wrong target. I don't want you to wish it was easier. I want you to wish that you became better because nobody can ever take that away from you. And I hope this podcast is just a little bit that helps you become that better today. I've got some more thoughts. I talked earlier about mindset, talked about environment. What is a success mindset? You see, there's a huge misconception that success, and society says that today success just happens to people. And if you're lucky, you'll be successful. You can have the success fairy come. I learned this from Andy Frisella. The success fairy can come and have this success fairy dust that they just drop on certain people and now they become successful. They were chosen for success. We all know that's not true. We know it's not true, but sometimes we allow our feelings to think, well, maybe there is some truth to that. Success is possible for everyone. Anyone can, but not everyone will. Anyone can, but not everyone will. So how do those successful people start? It started with a mindset. And I learned this from Andy Frisella. Success is the pursuit of one's true potential. You see, success is an inside job. It's you versus you. Are you chasing your maximum potential? And I'm going to tie that in with something else that I learned from Ed Mylett. He shared that his version of hell is when he gets to the pearly gates, because he's a man of faith. He gets to the pearly gates and he meets the man that he could have been. And he says that's in his vision of success, that's the determining factor of whether he goes to heaven or he goes to hell. And his version of hell is when he goes and he meets the the version that he was meant to be, the version that he was put on this earth to become. And he meets that person and they're complete strangers. What is this version of heaven? He meets the person that he was meant to be, the person that is his potential that he could become. And they're identical twins because he reached his potential. I think it's so much that we can unpack there, but you have to have that success mindset, right? So are you committed to building a life for yourself? Are you willing to build a life? Are you willing to have a mindset and share things that people are going to laugh at? Are you willing to go outside of society, what society deems as quote unquote normal? Like, I just laugh at people that like say, I just want a normal life. What does that even mean? What is normal today? And maybe that's what you want, and kudos to you. But I don't think any of you listening to this want a quote unquote normal life. You want something extra. You don't want ordinary, you want extraordinary. You want something more above what society deems as normal or average. That's why you're listening to this. So I think it starts with creating an extremely high standard for yourself. You may have heard some of my speeches that I've talked about standards, and it's something that I'm really, really high on right now, is that you got to uphold the standards. You see, people don't rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of their standards. So we talk about goals, and I believe in having big goals, which we'll talk about. One of my favorite books that you should go read is The Magic of Thinking Big. And I believe you should reach for the stars. I believe it. Go big. But also, that's your ceiling, because I don't want you to hit your head on the ceiling. I want you to have unlimited growth. But what's your floor? What's your, I'm not willing to go below. I'm not willing to fall less than this today. That's your standard. And I think those are equally, if not more important, especially in these times, is your standard that you have for yourself. Not your goals that sound good, not your goals you have on a piece of paper you bring out once a year. What is your standard of performance, of execution, your daily minimum standard of activity you need to accomplish today? So, how do you develop a success mindset? There's a few bullet points here. Number one, I talked about it just a second ago. You have to have massive goals. Massive goals. I don't believe in everything this guy teaches, but I think he was spot on when he wrote 10x Grant Cardone. Take a goal and then 10x it. What is your goal? And then do 10x. And what is it going to take for you to get there? Andy Frisella says multiply it by 100. Dream big. That's your goal. And I think a lot of times we confuse goals with standards, right? And if you're a person that sets a goal that is small and attainable and quote unquote realistic, are you going to really accomplish anything great in life? Small goals require small thoughts, require small actions, and get you small results. And big goals are the opposite. They require big thoughts, big actions, and big goals and big results, right? So free your mind up, open it up to what is possible. I'll just tell you, there's no shortage of money in this world. Just look around. I was on the lake with my family a couple weekends ago, just driving around and looking at some of these just 4 and 5 and 10 and 15 and $20 million houses with $3 and $4 million boats and like $1 million like docks, right? And it's just like, wow, there is no shortage of money in this world. There's no shortage of money. I guarantee you those people dream big. They have big goals. Stop thinking small. It doesn't serve your family. Number two, you have to humble yourself. Think about it this way. You ever met someone that's a know-it-all? Someone that already knows better than you? If you're already convinced that you know everything and you're not open-minded, you're not coachable, you're not humble, how are you ever going to learn anything new? You can't. Humility, being open-minded, being coachable is an attribute of high performers. You want to have a success mindset, you have to be open-minded. You have to have humility. What I've realized is that when I get around more successful people, they're actually more humble. They realize they know so less than they thought they did as they were on the climb up, right? Like we've all been a teenager before when we think we know better than our parents. So remember that lesson that you learned. I'm like, oh, now I know why they did that. Just experience. And there's so much that we can learn and so much that we can learn from our actions, from others. Humble yourself, be open minded, be coachable. That's part of a success mindset. Number three, you have to act with urgency at all times. At all times. So many people are passive. So many people procrastinate while everyone else gets lazy and complacent after they get a couple wins under their belt. I think what determines a success mindset is how do you show up when your back's against the wall? Do you fight or flight? Number one, but also, and maybe even more importantly, because if you're listening to this, you've had some level of success in your life. I'm just assuming so. How do you show up after a win? How do you show up after 3 wins? Do you take your foot off the gas? Do you kind of sit back, put your feet on the desk and coast? Or do you use that to build momentum for the next chapter, for the next level up in your life? You have to act with urgency. If you operate with selective urgency, that is a huge, huge killer of your dreams. You have to be urgent at all times. Because if you're not, guess what? You're going to get beat by someone that is more hungry, someone that has more drive, someone that has more urgency than you. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. You know, something I think about a lot is I remember, there's been times where I've not been urgent, where I've not been hungry, where I have sat back and kicked my feet on the desk. Let me just be very transparent. So I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you. But you know, one of the things that keeps me going is I have a really, really big why in my girls and my family and the things I want to provide for them. But in addition to that, and also my team and the lives I want to change and impact, like there's a lot. I could do a whole other podcast on that. So there's a lot. I have a very, very strong, and I'm very, very clear on my why, on my mission. Number 2 is I remember who I used to be. And I remember the journey of me chasing the person that I am now. And I'm scared to death that there's some other mini me that is working as hard as I used to work to try to take it away from me and my family. That may not be healthy. I'm not a psychologist. And I'm not asking you to act on fear. But if you don't have a little bit of that fear that someone can come and take it away from you in an instant, guys, this can disappear in a heartbeat. Are you fighting for it? Are you acting with urgency? Because there's some other you that is trying to get to where you are. And the only way to keep distancing yourself, act with urgency. Are you working as hard now, or are you sitting back with your feet on the desk? Because it'll catch up to you. Number 4, make a list of critical tasks and execute. Call this the power list. And I got this from Andy Frisella, right? It's so simple, guys. It's so simple. But do you know the 5 critical tasks? Not a to-do list, not a, I need to make my bed. It's critical task to move the needle forward. 5 of them every single day. Do those and do those first. If you're in sales, guess what part of your 5 tasks are? What is your daily minimum standard of activity? How many, I believe real estate's a contact sport. So one of my 5 critical tasks right now, I'm only recruiting for our organization. I have a conversation goal every day that I need to make with people. Every day. It's on my power list. What is on your power list? And is it a critical task that will move the needle forward? You do 5 of those a day and you do that every day without fail. That's how you win. Stacking win after win after win. If you want more on that, I did an episode in the early days of the podcast on the power list where I broke that down. Go find it, listen to it. It'll really, really help you get that traction in your business. And number 5 is challenge yourself. You see, I think a lot of winners are always challenging themselves. And it's so important that we find that next challenge. We find that next thing that pushes us a little further, especially in these times, right? Like it's not hard to find that challenge in today's marketplace. Look around. But so many people are running away from the challenge and they're not accepting responsibility for the challenge. They're not looking in the mirror and saying, what can I change? They're saying, well, things change around me. Yeah, change is the only constant in life. So are you going to challenge yourself and change with the changes? Change ahead of the changes. Successful people challenge themselves, not only physically, but mentally. And they do it continually. That's where growth comes from. See, all of you are capable of getting better. All of you are capable of learning more. All of you are capable of that growth that you desire. But are you really taking the actions to develop that, to challenge yourself, to push outside your comfort zone, to build that, just that next little step, and then that next little step? It doesn't happen overnight. It's not this massive, you wake up one day and then you're sprinkled with the success fairy and now you're just super successful. It is these things built over time consistently that one day you will wake up and you'll look back and you'll be living the life that you dreamed you would have. Especially when we tie it to this marketplace, especially in these challenging times that we're in right now. They're a blessing, but you have to apply the things we went over today. And if you're willing to build, are you in the right environment? Do you have the success mindset? Are you around the right people? Are you building the confidence within yourself? Are you acting within integrity? Are you doing all of these things to win the day today so that you can become better? Because one of the cool things about you becoming better, no one can take it away from you. You see, when the market gets better, everyone can win. But who can win when the market gets worse? Who can win when it becomes challenging? Because those people will win for life. And I want that to be you. Guys, thank you for listening. I'm out of time. I'd love your feedback on this episode. This was, I know this is always unorthodox, but this was just something that was on my heart, something I wanted to share, something I want to remind myself of, but also share with you. And knowing from someone like Jon Cheplak that that's what agents need right now is mindset. And how do I work through these hard times? How do I handle these challenges? I hope this helps you. I hope this helps you, even if it's one little thing. If you wouldn't mind, just share with me what your takeaway was, whether you liked it, whether you didn't, so I can know what kind of content to do for you guys. Because I can do anything tactical, I can do mindset, I can do it all, right? Not that I'm an expert in it all, but I want this show is for you, and I want to know what is important, what you relate to, what you find valuable, so that I can give you more of that. So, as always, thank you for listening. I want to encourage you, if this spoke to you, share this with a friend. I know that this show is continually growing. A lot of you are listening to every episode. I get all your messages. I so appreciate you. Share this episode with a friend. Let's continue to grow this. Let's continue to change our industry for the better and help me on my mission of changing lives. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.